What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got the summary video of the $700 gaming PC that we went out and parts hunted for, and 2 built in a live stream. Make sure you check out that content, by the way. However, today we're going to talk about the PC as it sits right here in front of us, quickly talk about some of the parts that went into it to build it, and ultimately just see how well it'll perform. Let's go. But before we jump into the parts discussion completely, I wanted to make mention that I was really after 2 different objectives with this build. 1 being obviously the $700 budget, but 2 being an Intel build. I always seem to fall on Ryzen just because it really does tend to make a little bit better sense as far as squeezing your budget, but with $700 at our disposal, I was able to finally build what I would say a very powerful $700 PC with Intel. So with that said, let's jump into the first part, and that being the CPU. As mentioned, my full intent was to make this an Intel build, and that I did. So the CPU I ended up going with is the i5-12600KF. i5s now these days pack a serious punch. Long gone are the days of i5s only coming with 4 single little cores, sometimes not even hyper-threaded. That is definitely not the case with this CPU. This CPU I targeted mainly for the price of $155, which, if you consider the chip coming with 16 total cores, 6 hyper-threaded performance cores and 4 E-cores for a total of 16, and with a base frequency of 3.7 gigahertz that boosts all the way up to 4.9 gigahertz, this is a serious performance package. And if you have a keen eye, you might notice that we don't have an Intel cooler attached to that CPU. Well, actually, this type of CPU, being a K-series CPU, does not come with it. It's actually a 125 watt chip, so we definitely had to account for that, which I did. We, as you can see, have a large cooler on here from Thermalright. This is just their standard kind of 4 heat pipe, large tower cooler with an ARGB fan. So not only will it cool that chip just fine, I think it matches the aesthetic pretty well. Next, moving on to motherboard, obviously I had to find something that would work with this CPU. However, I did not want to go super cheap like with an H-series board. So what I was able to find here is the Gigabyte DS3H B660. Now, if you are no noob to the channel, then you know I love my Gigabyte motherboards. However, I found this one more by chance than intention. And what I mean by that, this board I found on Amazon Warehouse, because if you go back and watch the parts hunt video, I was struggling to find a cost-effective board. Some alterations were made, but ultimately I landed on this one for just $83. Now again, if you're no new to the channel, you know that these DS3H motherboards from Gigabyte come feature full. However, I was missing one part, and that being Wi-Fi. These are the games you play sometimes when you're doing budget builds with Intel. But anywho, on to the next part, that being the RAM, and there really isn't honestly a whole lot to talk about in that realm. And not to discredit the part or the brand by any means, I'm just saying what I chose is more basic, but what we have here is a pair of 8 gig DIMMs from G.Skill, 16 gigs total, 3200 mega transfers at CAS latency 16. This brand in part being another one of my tried and trues. You just simply cannot go wrong with G.Skill memory. Now on to storage, and this being an area where I was really trying to do something different than I normally do with tight budget builds, I wanted to make sure that I got at least 1 terabyte, and that we did. And Team Group coming in here clutch, making that task quite easy. Again, one of my go-tos, this 1 terabyte MP33 Pro I picked up for just $63. This, although being a Gen 3 drive, still such a solid decision when doing a tight budget like this. Now next on the GPU, and this is always a battlefield area for me to try to make a solid GPU work within these tight budgets, and I think I did pretty well here. So what we have here is the RX 7600 non-XT from XFX. This is a very solid card for 1080p or even light 1440p gaming. Though probably one of the greatest things about this card being the price, which I picked up off eBay in basically brand new condition for just $220. But also the card itself being on actually the latest generation of AMD cards, although not their top dog cards, but in the 7000 series is what I mean. Still a great card for this system and obviously the budget. So like with any electronic, or PC for that matter, you need power. And surprise! I went with another one of my tried and trues. Even at the time of this recording, this PSU is still out there going for an amazing price of $52. So what we have here is the Apivia Prestige 600 watt Tier C Gold rated power supply. All the power we need and worry free. And with all those parts, obviously you gotta put them somewhere, right? So we got a case, and as you can see, I did just that. I bought a case. Jokes aside, this is the Sama ARGB Q5, basically a basic budget case. This one comes with some great features and some that even surprised me, all for just $54. So honestly, my angle with cases usually is generally pretty simple. Something that looks pretty much, you know, like a case. And secondly, it doesn't have any kind of weird things going on with it, like any kind of suffocating front panels or anything like that. But mostly what I'm targeting just really strictly for resale purposes, because unfortunately I can't hold on to all these PCs that I build, but something that has some RGB. So as you can see, we've got 3 pre-installed RGB fans on this case. Though one good call out here I want to make is this case also comes with an RGB controller to control those fans, which is controllable by a button on the top of the case, and actually comes with one more space to plug in another fan. So as you can see, I did just that. That means I can sync up the CPU cooler fan with all the rest of the fans in the case. Nice. So all that said, we got a pretty nice looking PC. Now let's see if it could back up its looks and give us some good performance. Let's go. Alrighty guys, so what can I say? This PC's got the looks, and it definitely has the performance to back up the looks. I think some gamer, whoever gets a hold of this system, is going to be pretty happy. But anywho guys, I think that'll do it for this one though. If you have not checked out the 2 previous content pieces on this PC, then make sure you check those out above my head. Thanks for tuning into this one though guys, I appreciate your time, and I'll catch you in the next one.